Hello there everyone, this is Miss G and this video is for anyone who needs extra assistance with CRQ 3.1. So when we look at the CRQ, the question is asking us to analyze or break down how the author shows bias against President Trump in this text. Then I'm asking you to use 2 to 3 pieces of evidence. So the core question is to break down how the author shows bias against President Trump. Now, if you weren't here for our lesson on bias, I just wanted to review that quickly in this video. So what we have mostly been talking about is author's purpose and text structures. So remember, there's the 3 main types of author's purpose: persuade, inform, and entertain. And then we have the structures, the way that the author chooses to organize the information in their text. Now, if they're trying to entertain you, they're almost always going to use narrative, which is storytelling, and the structure is going to be plot, right? That beginning, middle, end, the rise in action, climax, and falling action. And that's usually going to fall under the category of fiction, right? Stories that are made up or that are fake, made up by the author. The nonfiction category is the big one we're focusing on, and that is when they are trying to inform you of something, persuade you, or convince you of something, or possibly a little bit of both. So the main structure that they use is called expository, which is just another word for informational. And then these are the 5 main structures we looked at: cause and effect, compare, contrast, position, reason, all of these. So what we talked about was how these different structures can fall under the categories of either inform, persuade, or sometimes both. What we want to look at are the texts that have any type of persuasion in them, because that is going to mean bias. Okay, if a text is trying to persuade you or convince you of their solution, they are going to be a little biased. So here's our definitions that we need to make sure we know. Objective and bias are opposites of each other. Okay, objective is when something is fair, it's not influenced by your personal opinions, you're just stating the facts like they are. You're not playing any favorites. Bias is the opposite. Bias is when you do have favorites. You have a preference or an attitude that prevents you from judging fairly. So if you really like one TV show over the other, and someone asks you about the 2 TV shows, you are going to be biased towards one and show favoritism towards it. Okay, so if you say something is biased towards something, that means you favor it. You think positive of it. If you are biased against something, that means you think negatively of it. You are against it. Okay? So with those definitions in mind, I want us to take a look at the CRQ passage. So if you had completed the 1-28 asynchronous work assignment, it's the same article. Biden takes the wheel as president, democracy has prevailed. Okay, so you have a short 1-page article here about President Biden's inauguration, or when he was sworn in to be the new president. Your job is to find out if there's any bias against Donald Trump. So is there any language that shows that the author favors Joe Biden and dislikes President Trump? While you're reading, if you find that language, you want to highlight it wherever you see it. And remember, I'm just going to highlight a random line and remind you how to highlight. You highlight it with your mouse first. You go up to the top where your edit bar is, and you click on this little highlighter here. I usually like to use yellow. Okay, so you want to be looking for several examples, because remember, you want 2 to 3 pieces of evidence where you might see some bias against Donald Trump. Now, when you get to the end, right, the next page, here's where you're going to write your CRQ. So I'm looking for a 5 to 7 sentence paragraph where you answer this question. Okay, you should write it in the races strategy, and it should have 2 to 3 pieces of examples or evidence from the passage. Now you have an option. You can either just type it directly in this box as you want, or if you feel like you still need a little bit of help with that races strategy, you can use your graphic organizer here. Okay, so remember, first you want to tag or restate that question. If this is our main question, we take out the question word how, and then we usually add by or because at the end. So we would say the author shows bias against President Trump in the text by blank. Okay, that's what you need to answer here. How does he show bias? Where do you see examples? What is he saying against Trump and what is he saying in favor of Biden? Okay, then you're going to give an example from the passage. Explain your example in 1 to 2 sentences. Explain how that example proves what you're trying to say. How does that example show bias against Trump? You'll give another example, explain it. And then the third piece of evidence is optional. I think it makes your case stronger. It makes your response stronger. But if you're struggling and you can only find 2, that is okay. And then you'll conclude, sum up, wrap up your main point one last time, and make sure you very clearly argue how there is bias in this text. And that's all you have to do. If you need help, of course, reach out to me. Otherwise, use this video and read the passage and try to do it first on your own. Good luck.